and welcome you all in the class of zoology. Today I am explaining about the transport of respiratory gases in the body of animals. So, as in the earlier lectures, we already known about the types of the respiratory organs in case of the animals. Then we already studied about the mechanism of respiration in case of different animals. Specifically, we already focus on to the respiration in case of human beings. And now today we see about the transport of respiratory gases. The question get rise in our mind that what is meant by the respiratory gases. There are the two types of the respiratory gases. They are nothing but the oxygen and carbon dioxide. These are the two important respiratory gases, and how they get transported in the body of living beings, that is the animals. Now, transport of oxygen. So, oxygen is transported from alveoli to the tissue by the blood in forms, that is in the simple physical solution and in the combination with hemoglobin. So, transport of the respiratory gases, that is the oxygen. First, we focus on to the oxygen, that is the transport of oxygen. Oxygen is transported from alveoli to the tissue by the blood in forms. Number one is the simple physical solution, and number two is the in combination with the hemoglobin. In these two important forms, they get transported in the body of animals. Number one is simple solution. Now, in these forms, oxygen dissolves in water or plasma and is transported in physical form. The amount of oxygen transported in this way is very negligible. Only 0.3 ml per 100 ml of plasma is transported in this way. This is because of the poor solubility of the oxygen in water content of plasma. Still, the transport of the oxygen in this form becomes important during the excess demand of oxygen by the tissue, specifically during the muscular exercise. Then another, that is the transportation of oxygen in combination with the hemoglobin. As we are already known that the hemoglobin is the respiratory pigments. In case of most of the animals, now the hemoglobin having the ability to combine with oxygen, and therefore they are transported in the combination. As we are already known that the hemoglobins, they are present in the RBCs. Now, in the RBC of the animals, there is having the hemoglobin, and the hemoglobin having the heme, and the heme having the affinity to bind the oxygen. Therefore, in case of the animals, oxygen combines with the hemoglobin to form the oxyhemoglobin. Near about 97% of oxygen is transported by this method. Oxygen can be readily released from hemoglobin when it is needed. When the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood is more, hemoglobin combines readily with the oxygen, and whenever the partial pressure of O2 in blood is less, hemoglobin release oxygen. The amount of oxygen transported by the blood is called as the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. 1 gram of hemoglobin carries 1.34 ml of the oxygen. Okay, so hemoglobins are nothing but the proteins. Okay, now in these protein, there is having the two units, that is the heme is the inorganic and the globins are the proteins. They are associated to each others. Okay, and these hemoglobin molecules having the ability to transport the oxygen Now we are already known that in the body of human beings, that is in the closed circulatory system, blood, they are transported with the help of the blood capillaries. Okay. Now when the RBC get binds with the oxygen, at that time the blood are known as the oxygenated blood. Okay. And oxygenated blood, they are transported toward the different target regions of the body with the help of the circulatory system. Now oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curves indicates us how the oxygen, they are combines with the hemoglobin and how they get released from the hemoglobin. This kind of the phenomenon which is well explained with the help of the oxygen dissociation curves, that is the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curves. Okay. In case of the normal cases, the oxygen dissociation curve become the sigmoid shapes. Okay. That is the S shape curve will be obtained. Okay, in the normal condition. Now these curve demonstrate the relationship between the partial pressure of the oxygen and the percentage saturation of hemoglobin with the oxygen. It explains the affinity of hemoglobin for O2, as we are already known that the hemoglobin having the affinity to bind the oxygen as well as to the carbon dioxide. Normally hemoglobin is saturated with oxygen only up to the 95%. The saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen depends upon the partial pressure of oxygen. When the partial pressure of oxygen is more, hemoglobin accepts oxygen, and when the partial pressure of the oxygen is less, at that time hemoglobin release the oxygen. Now the partial pressure of oxygen and the saturation of the hemoglobins are plotted to obtain the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curves. Okay. So under normal condition, oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve is S shape or the sigmoid shape. Okay. The lower part of the curve indicate the dissociations of oxygen from hemoglobin. The upper parts indicate the acceptance of the O2 by the hemoglobin depending upon the partial pressure of oxygen. That is P50 is the partial pressure of O2 at which hemoglobin saturations with oxygen is 50%. The oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve is shifted to the left. Okay. That is here the oxygen shifting is occurred, that is the dissociation curve. In the dissociation curve there is a right and left shifting of the oxygen will be observed here. Okay. Now the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve is shifted to the left or right by various factors. Okay. Now there are the different factors which are responsible for the shifting, that is the temperature, that is partial pressure, that is CO2, then 2,3 dpg and pH of the medium. Okay. So here increased P50 decreased affinity to bind the oxygen with hemoglobin. So shift to the left indicates acceptance of O2 by hemoglobin. Shifting to the left indicates acceptance of the O2 by hemoglobin. Then shifting to the right indicate the dissociation of the oxygen by hemoglobin. Okay. So oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curves indicates us how the oxygen get binds to the hemoglobin and how they get released from the hemoglobin while during the different physiological processes. Then next we will see about the how the transport of carbon dioxide takes place. As we are already known that the exchange of gases takes place in the form of the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay. Now transport of carbon dioxide by the blood from tissue to the alveoli. Okay, CO2 is transported in the blood in 4 ways. As we are already known that transport of the oxygen takes place from alveoli to the different tissues, and here is the reverse. Carbon dioxide is transported by the blood from tissue to the alveoli, and from the alveoli they get expelled outside the body by the process of the exhalation. Okay, so CO2 is transported in the blood in 4 different ways. Number 1, as a dissolved form, near about 7% of carbon dioxide they get transported. As a carbonic acid, that is the negligible amount of the carbon dioxide get transported in the form of the carbonic acid. Then in the form of the bicarbonate, near about 63%, maximum amount of the carbon dioxide they are transported in the form of the bicarbonates. Then in the form of the carbamino, near about 30% of carbon dioxide they are transported in the form of the carbamino. Okay, now first of all we will focus on to the transport of carbon dioxide as a dissolved form. That is only very negligible amount of the carbon dioxide they are transported in the dissolved form. Now CO2 diffuses into the blood and dissolve in the plasma, forming a simple solution. Only about 3 ml per 100 ml of the plasma of carbon dioxide transport in the dissolved forms. Then in the here in this diagrammatic presentation we will clearly understood how the transportation of carbon dioxide takes place. In the dissolved form near about 7%. As a carbonic acid they are transported is in the very negligible amounts. Then most of the carbon dioxide they are transported in the form of the bicarbonates. Okay, so here is the peripheral cells, and from the peripheral cell there is a diffusion of the carbon dioxide takes place. Okay, then they are transported in the different forms, in the dissolved form, in the carbonic acid form, then in the bicarbonate forms, and as a carbamino forms. Okay, now here in this case transport of the carbon dioxide as carbonic acid, part of the dissolved carbon dioxide in plasma combines with the water to form the carbonic acid. This reaction is very slow and a negligible amount of the carbon dioxide is transported in these forms. Then third important form of the transportation of carbon dioxide is nothing but the transport of carbon dioxide as in the form of the bicarbonate. Okay, now about 63% of the carbon dioxide is transported as a bicarbonate from the plasma. CO2 enters the RBCs. In the RBCs, CO2 combines with the water to form the carbonic acid. Under the action of the enzymes, accelerate the reaction and is present only in the RBC and in the plasma. Therefore, carbonic acid form is more in RBC than in the plasma. The carbonic acid is very unstable. It dissociates into the bicarbonates. Okay, and hydrogen ions. The concentration of the bicarbonate increase more and in the cell, which cause its diffusion through the cell membrane of RBC into the plasma. Okay, so here is the peripheral cells, and from the peripheral cell there is a release of the carbon dioxide and they get enter into the that is the from alveoli to the here, that is they get diffused into the RBCs, and in the RBC there is having the water, and in the water that is they are combines with the carbon dioxide. So here is the carbonate and bicarbonate will be formed and they get transported in these forms in the blood. Okay, no, here chloride shift or the Hamburger phenomenons. The exchange of chloride ion for bicarbonate ion across the cell membrane of RBC is called the chloride shift. It was discovered by the Hertog Jacob Hamburger in 1892. Okay, here are the tissue cells, and from the tissue cells there is a release of carbon dioxide. Then these carbon dioxides, they are occur in the interstitial fluid. Then from the interstitial fluids, they are occur in the dissolved in plasma. Then the carbon dioxide also combine with the water, so that there is a formation of the carbonates, and this carbonate, that is SCO3 here plus H, binds to the plasma, okay, plasma of the blood. Then here is carbon dioxide, they are entered into the RBCs, and once they get entered into the RBCs, they combines with water molecules. Then the rate of reaction get increased in the presence of the carbonic anhydrase enzymes, and these carbonic anhydrase enzymes only present in the RBC, so that there is a formation of the carbonate S2CO3, okay, and these forms of the carbon dioxides, they are transported here. Then here we observe that chloride shifts. Here there is an entry of the chlorides, okay. Now homeostasis phenomenon which is maintained by the chloride. So here hemoglobin is present in the RBCs, so there is a H and HB, so there is a formation of the HHB, that is hemoglobin. Now another sources here, carbon dioxide, CO2 plus HB, that is the carbaminohemoglobin. This form are known as the carbaminohemoglobin. Then red blood cells, that is the HbO2, that is the oxygenated hemoglobin, okay. Here there is a release of O2, okay. So these O2 again combined with the hemoglobin. Then here there is a shift, that is O2, they are entered into the interstitial cells or the tissue cells, okay, and these O2 utilized by the cell for variety of metabolic processes which is takes place inside the cells, okay. So here is the reverse chloride shift, the process by which the chloride ions are moved back into the plasma from RBC is called as the reverse chloride shift, okay. So the process by which chloride ions are moved back into the plasma from RBCs is called as the reverse chloride shifts. Now here in this case there is a chloride shifts or Hamburger phenomenons. In this case there is an entry of the chloride is takes place inside the RBC, and in the reverse chloride shifts there is an exit of the chloride is occurred, that is from the RBCs to the plasma. There is a that is the transportation of the chlorides. So here is the reverse chloride shifts which is occurred, okay. Now carbon dioxide, they are occur in the dissolved form in the plasma, they transported toward the alveolus, Okay, that is the fused basement membranes. Now here H plus SCO3, here there is a formation of the CO3, then the rate of reaction is very slow because in the plasma there is not having the carbonic anhydrase enzymes. So here there is a formation of the water plus carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide they are entered into the alveoli. Okay, so that is from the plasma to the tissue cells. Then here in this case reverse chloride shifts SCO3. When the SCO3 get entered inside the RBC, at that time chlorides get expelled into the plasma. Then SCO3 combined with the hydrogen, it will gives rise the H2CO3. Then rate of reaction becomes fast because here there is having the enzymes, that is the carbonic anhydrase enzymes, and these carbonic anhydrase enzymes leads into the formation of the carbon dioxide and the water molecules, and these carbon dioxide again entered into the interstitial cell, that is the alveolus. Okay, then here the carbaminohemoglobin, they are also leads into the formation of the carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide enters into the alveolus, and from the alveolus there is a entry of oxygen is takes place into the RBCs, and we are already known that in the RBC there is a having the hemoglobin, and hemoglobin having the affinity to bind the oxygen, therefore there is a formation of the oxyhemoglobin. In the presence of the hydrogen ion, oxyhemoglobin, they are having the ability to transport the, that is the to increase the rate of transportation of carbon dioxide reverse into the alveoli, and from the alveolus to the exterior to the cell. Okay, then here oxygen dissolve in the plasma, some little amount of the oxygen also they are dissolved in the plasma, as we are already known that the oxygen they are transported in the two important ways, along with the combination of the hemoglobin, and they are merely transported in the dissolved forms. Okay, so transport of the carbon dioxide as a carbamino compound, about 30% of the carbon dioxide is transported as carbamino compounds. Carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin to form the carbaminohemoglobin or carbahemoglobin, and it combines with the plasma proteins to form the carbaminoproteins. Carbaminohemoglobin and the carbaminoprotein are together called carbamino compound. Carbon dioxide combined with the hemoglobin or proteins with loose bonds, so that carbon dioxide is easily released into the alveoli where the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide is low. Okay, here in these graphical presentation we clearly understood that how the association and dissociation of the carbon dioxide is takes place. Okay, now here is the concentration of the carbon dioxide on the one axis, and in the another axis there is a PCO2, the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. As increase the partial pressure, deoxygenated bloods, the Halden effects, hemoglobin gives up carbon dioxide when partial pressure of O2 rises. When there is increase the partial pressure of oxygen rises and binds carbon dioxide when that is the partial pressure of the oxygen get fall downs. At that time association and dissociation of the carbon dioxide is takes place. O2 release to tissue allows the hemoglobins to bind the CO2 for transport back to lungs. Process reverse in lungs, that is the oxygenated bloods, and here is the dissolved carbon dioxides. In this way there is a transportation of both carbon dioxide and the oxygen is takes place, okay, on the surface of the respiratory surface area. Now thank you so much for listening this video.